Hello and welcome to Capital Ideas TV. I'm Mark Bunting. About a year ago, we introduced you to the pioneering work of RavenQuest BioMed, so-called orbital gardens that grow cannabis plants in cylindrical pods. Now, on paper, they would maximize yield while slashing costs. Yet they hadn't been tested on cannabis at scale. But now the technology is in full bloom and on full display. Here's a look at RavenQuest's facility in Edmonton. It's a 35,000 square foot production house packed with orbital gardens. Inside, row upon row of the pods pump out roughly 7,000 kilograms of cannabis per annum. RavenQuest says this model yields double and sometimes triple the industry average. Plus, it comes at a fraction of the electricity, water, and nutrient costs. It isn't just RavenQuest's orbital gardens that are budding nicely. Business is also picking up in a pretty big way for the company. RavenQuest has a fully licensed facility in Markham, Ontario that allows it to sell product across Canada. The company has a supply agreement with a major producer for 8,000 kilograms this year, and it's also working out a deal for 2,000 kilograms with the BC government. But perhaps most excitingly, RavenQuest has formed a joint venture in Europe to take its technology global. Engineering is the cornerstone of RavenQuest's pitch to consumers. It believes customers will gravitate towards its high-quality product that comes at a price that beats many on the market. And as it stands, 2020 is shaping up to be a significant year of growth and revenue for the company. RavenQuest CEO George Robinson explains the factors that have his team poised for success. So George, in the introduction to this piece, we saw those beautiful orbital gardens at your facility in Edmonton. Remind everybody what this technology is and what are the benefits as far as yield and cost savings.
Actually it's a very interesting technology. What it is really plants rotating around the light, and what the advantages are is we're using 65% less energy to get the same yield of the plant material. But more importantly, around that canopy, we can tightly control the conditions, the environmental conditions, which at the plant is called the chemovar, effects of chemovar, the light differences or the environmental differences. We get extremely consistent plant material, but at the lowest cost. We use less energy, we use less water, and we use less nutrients. So these are the two advantages of it. You get consistent material, lowest cost.
So you're up and running, and what kind of production numbers are we looking at for 2019? And then look out to next year in terms of expanding capacity and production as well.
Yeah, if everything goes in the right direction, we look like we'll be somewhere between about 6,000 kilograms this year, which looks really well. If you look into 2020, we'll get full value out of both our Markham facility and out of our facility in Edmonton, which should be, in or about or north of 11,000 kilos.
Now, the last time you were here was about 14 months ago, and you projected revenue for 2019, which was pretty brave of you because that's not easy to do. You projected $55 million. Are you on track for that? A little ahead of it, shy of it?
I think we'll be a wee bit shy, only because of the fact when we were together the last time, we had suspected that we'd have our cultivation license a little early. We actually put our evidence package in July of 2018. That's why I made those bold statements. We didn't get our cultivation license to April the 5th. So we're a little behind that. We think somewhere around $50 million on the cultivation side.
So you were at the mercy of Health Canada there, basically, but you are cash flow positive right now, and you expect to be profitable by the end of 2019?
Yes, all correct.
All right, excellent. Now, extraction is a sweet spot of the sector right now, as you know, and you want to do full plant extracts for vaporizers. Explain that.
Yeah, so the difference is rather than doing a fractional distillate or isolate, which is taking a single component out of the plant material, we're working on and developing a formulation where we actually take the full plant, everything that's in the plant, we extract it out through butane, or called BHO, and then we reconstitute it back with terpenes back into the pen. So what we're actually doing is we're giving everything that the plant has in it back to the patient or adult user in the vapor pen. So this is very different than what everyone else is doing. We're actually giving the full plant back. So it's the near closest experience to having a joint.
And so when would those devices be on the market, do you figure?
Well, it can never be any sooner than December, sometime in December, because Health Canada will roll out its rules in October. It's a 60-day period for all products before they can be released. So let's say early 2019.
All right, and now internationally, you have a Norwegian partner. You're going to be expanding into Portugal. So why Europe, and what's the timeline there?
We looked at Europe, and if you take a look at the broader sense or greater Europe, you have 700 million people. You already have a culture that believes in CBD, and CBD there is very much a health product. It's something used daily by millions of people. So if you start taking a look at countries that are adopting cannabis, they're looking at it very differently than maybe some other countries. In Europe, they look at it as first form of medicinal relief rather than the last form. Portugal, we already know that in that particular country, they've decriminalized all drugs at the personal level. If you're carrying it on you, you don't have over certain amounts. So Portugal, as far as their culture goes, which is most important, as far as their legislation and regulation goes, it's the most attractive market to be in right now. Our Norwegian partners are fully engaged in our gardens. They've come out and looked at it. They figure that we're the right partner to joint venture together.
Now, back home in Canada, you have arrangements with a couple of First Nations groups. We've talked about that before. Why is that important for RavenQuest BioMed, and what are the tax benefits there?
Yeah, when we start looking maybe a little bit longer term as things become more commodity-based, the First Nations communities have a lot of advantages if they set up their cultivation and their sales license particularly well. That means if they do that, they can save actually between 22 to 25% of the taxes that are charged from cultivation, from the excise tax, through CRA, and through other taxation levels of PST and GST. So it's really great for that. As we're a partner with them, we get that advantage to be a part of that sales process, and we get to take advantage of that. So 25% of anything in any industry is massive, and that's why I think it's important. But more importantly, the Indigenous communities need a health-based medicine that's different than an opioid.
And another pillar of RavenQuest is this partnership you have with McGill. It's all about the science. So why is that important, and what are you hoping to get out of that relationship?
I think what a lot of companies haven't done is you have to take a look at three things: policy, academia, and industry. In every other industry, those things work in harmony. Today, we're not doing that. Industry is pushing so hard and fast. We've forgotten about academia, and we're trying to really stress out policy. So we've made an early commitment with McGill to work on the sort of the academia side of it. And why it's important to us, they're going to prove for us everything that we say to our investors and to our patients and to our adult use users, it's academically backed. But more importantly, what's there is we can continue to look at innovations as far as the plant material. We can look at genomic studies and DNA studies with McGill, which are perfectly matched to do that with the plant sciences.
George, let's take a step back here and look more broadly. You're considered the thought leader in the sector. We've seen you on CTV, we've seen you on BNN Bloomberg on a regular basis. Lots happening in the sector. Bruce Linton gets fired at Canopy. You've got the CanTrust scandal. Just generally, where is this sector at in terms of its evolution? And do you think investors are demanding now, you have to have results, and it's not just good enough to have a concept, and companies are being forced to mature in terms of governance and compliance?
Yeah, it's really true what you say. I think we've gone beyond the three-dimensional rendering and raising money and taking pitches out there. You actually physically got to grow cannabis before you can turn it into anything else. So that's the first bit of the maturation process. The second part is now we're having to starting to take a look at a very hard look at governance. It's a nascent and new industry, and I think now we have to step back and say who's on our boards, who's on the executive leadership team, and who's driving the company. I require all of my senior leadership team to know the regulation inside and out. There's no excuses, and that's what makes RavenQuest very different. Everyone from senior management knows the regulation inside and out.
Last question about the stock. Last time you were here, you, like a lot of CEOs, you think it's undervalued. But you look at the numbers, I think it's, was it EV to sales, enterprise value to sales, 1.5, and a lot of companies are way up in double digits, your peers. So how do you bridge that valuation gap, and how do you get the message out to investors that we have a good thing going here and you're ignoring us?
So I think for the 14 months I put my head down, put my shoulder to building the business, getting the gardens up and running, proving them out. But here's the differentiator now. We've had Health Canada on site for 2 days about a week ago. They have looked at it. They have taken a look at our technology. They have told us it's very good. It's passed all the quality control metrics. The harvests are coming out with COAs that are delivering completely consistent material across 6 cultivars.
Sorry, COAs are? or?
Certificate of analysis.
Okay.
This is what we need to do at the end of the testing process. So what really is behind all this is now we've taken away all the mystery of, or the questions of, can we actually grow in this? But more importantly, we're showing that we're about half the price on cash cost per gram cultivated, and the same thing as cash cost into the saleable material. So we've done all that. So I think now what we get to do is go tell that story rather than promoting it before. We actually get to say, here's Health Canada, this is what they've said, this is what our cultivation looks like and our harvesting looks like. So now we can actually demyth this thing, and we can go out to the flat table providers and say, guess what, we got a better technology and we're going to run right past you.